What up, guys? Don Apache Woodworking. I'm back again showing you how to build some cool shit, baby. In this video, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to restore a piece of furniture. So let's see how this goes. Wish me luck, say a prayer, ain't no doubt about it. Let me tell you something, guys. Restoring furniture is a whole different ball game than building something brand new. Most woodworkers, don't restore furniture. They have a strict policy. They only build new stuff. But if you woodwork, if you own a woodworking business, you dabble in it, you play around the shop on the weekends, you've probably been asked to restore a piece. And it's something, for the longest time, I wouldn't even take a job like this. But you know what? I know the client. I know the client that wanted me to do this very, very well. And they're real nice folks. I love them. And when he asked me to do it, he wanted to give this to his dad as a Father's Day gift because this chair sat on his dad's grandmother or great-grandmother, I can't remember. It sat on her front porch as long as he could remember. It sat outside. It was covered, of course, but it sat outside in the Mississippi elements his entire life that he's known. And he thought it'd be a really cool thing to give back to him and have redone. So when he asked me to come take a look at it, I looked at it and decided it was something that I think I could really bring back. And ordinarily I wouldn't do it, but if it's something I'm confident that, I can make it look a little bit better, which in this case, how much worse could it get? I decided I was going to take a shot at it. I told him I was going to wing it. He was fine with that. I wing 99% of the things I do in a shop, but, that ain't no bad thing. You just got to pick it up and run with it, figure it out as you go. Ain't no doubt about it. But anyway, as you can see, guys, I'm taking this chair apart piece by piece. And the goal, actually, what the client told me he wanted to be able to do was just sit down in it without it falling apart. Because it was a little wobbly. It was a little sketchy, if you could tell just by looking at it. You should have actually seen it before I started working on it. It was pretty bad. But the end goal was just to be able to sit in it, and I said, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to bring it back to life. And let's see how I did at the end. It took me about 2 months to complete this project. It was meticulous work. It was very... It took a lot more than I thought it was going to take, but I just wanted it to be the best it could. And I always do the best job I can in anything I do. And I put my all into it. And I started out by sanding each piece after I tore the chair apart with 40 grit sandpaper, I think, and worked all the way up to 320. I'm not going to show you all the sanding, but I did show a good bit just to show exactly how much went into this. But after I sanded each part, I went into working on the hardware on the chair. What I did is I took a wire brush and ended up taking it and just getting all the loose rust and paint off the hardware that I could. I did this to all the pieces of hardware that were on the chair. After that, I actually found my wire wheel. I thought I had lost it, but I found it was just buried under some sawdust. Knocked the dust off of it and used the wire wheel with my drill and continued to knock all the rust and paint off that I could. I don't know why somebody painted this chair green. It is definitely not fitting for today's, color scheme of a house, I guess you'd say. People don't really go for greens, but hey, it is what it is. This thing's 100 years old. You get what you get. But after all that, knocking all that rust off, you can see I'm pouring some evapor rust in a few cups. That's just got the nuts, bolts, and screws and nails in it that came out of the chair. Because I'm going to try to use the original hardware to put it all back together. I'm taking all the other evapor rust I got and I'm pouring it in this tub. And as you can see, that big piece of hardware sticking out the top, I just flipped it over every other day to let both sides soak. And let that sit for a while, I think 2 days tops, and I just came back and checked on it from time to time. And right here, I'm just going to go start taking the chair, putting it back together piece by piece. I figured why not just start with the seat. I'm throwing in some clamps, gluing it up the best I can. The seat was actually put together with tongue groove joinery, so I'm hoping it holds up pretty good. I let it sit for about a day to cure before I got back to work on it. And after that, I just started working on the actual backing of the chair. And as you can see right here, it's got some kind of veneer on it that I just peeled off with a chisel, and also had a couple layers of paint, and just took a sander, cleaned that up like I did all the other parts, and ended up sanding pretty much the arms here too, and the other parts that were the back of the chair. I really don't know what they're called. I'm not a chair maker. I should know these things, but I don't. But anyway, after that, I'm just taking the backing of the chair. These are the main supports on the back, and also the arms as well. They were all put together with dowel joinery, and some of the old dowels were stuck in there, so you can see me right here just drilling them out. And I ended up drilling new dowel holes, putting new dowels in there. And I ran into a problem when working on this chair that I didn't even really consider whenever I started beating on it with a hammer. This wood is old, it's brittle. I ended up breaking a bunch of the pieces of the chair that I actually had to glue back together to get looking like they were, because I can break anything. It's a God-given talent. I don't know how I do it, but I can break anything if I just touch it. Check out this Evapo-Rust. Y'all remember when I originally poured it, it was yellow. As you can see right here, about a day later, this 24 hours later, it's pretty much black and brown. So it's definitely doing its job. Right here, you can see I'm taking the seat out of the clamps. And when I glue stuff up and clamp it, and I take it out of the clamps, I throw it around and hit on it a little bit just to make sure that glue did its job and holds up pretty good. I'm beating it on my workbench right here, and as you can see, the worst thing possible happened, it broke in half, so I'm going to have to go back and fix that later. I just threw that to the side and got back to work on the actual arms of the chairs, putting those new dowels in, clamping them up the best I can, and I'll let those sit for about a day as well to cure. And I really hope, I was really worried that the dowels really weren't going to hold up that good, because the holes were a little loose, which you don't want, but they ended up holding up pretty good. You'll see that later in the video. And as you see right here, the best thing I thought I could do with the seat, the joint where it busted, like I said, it was all tongue and groove, and the tongue and the groove were pretty beat up, and they really weren't together well. It was all busted and blown out. So what I did, I just took it over the joiner and decided to just get a perfectly straight edge on each piece, because I thought I'd have a better shot at gluing it up, which I did. I ended up hitting a couple nails on the joiner, running it through, but it's okay. I ruined a knife, straight knife, but I can replace it. That's just something that happens in the business. After all that and the work on the seat, I'll glue it up later. It was time to take the hardware out of the Evapo-Rust and just get after it with a wire wheel and my Dremel tool. And I did the best I could to get every speck of rust and green paint off of each part that I could. I really wanted it to be spotless. And the color of the hardware after taking it out of the Evapo-Rust, it looked great. It was real fitting. It was like an old antique metal look. I mean, you can just see it. The Evapo-Rust did one hell of a job. I was very happy with the results. Definitely, I've actually used it on a couple projects since then, restoring stuff. But as you see right here, after I used the wire wheel on every part, I took my Dremel to get in all the little nooks and crannies, and I only had one wheel for that. So I wore it down to the nub, just getting each and every piece that I could, and it came out pretty good. But after all that, which I spent about 2.5 hours out on the porch, just wire wheeling all that stuff, trying to get all the hardware cleaned up. I took the arms out of the clamps, and you can see I'm putting a little pressure on them to make sure they don't break, make sure that glue cured up good and is holding good, and those dowels are strong, which they were. And I'm going to set those to the side, get back on the seat. This is round 2 on the seat. I'm throwing it back in the clamps, and I was saying a prayer at this point in time the seat was going to hold together, because if it didn't, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And me and the client talked about this. He really wanted the chair to show that it was 100 years old. He didn't want it to look brand new. He wanted it to look like it had been around the block a time or two. So you can see there was a big chunk missing out of the seat. We decided to leave that and leave the seat alone as much as possible. We didn't fill up any holes, nothing like that. We wanted it to be as raw and natural as possible. After I threw the seat in the clamp, I let it sit for a day, and you can see right here I took a wire wheel, got back on those screws and all the rest of the hardware, cleaning up the heads, trying to polish them up. Took the seat out of the clamps, banged it around the workbench, came out great, did not break, was holding up pretty good, so I was over the moon about that. And after that, got to work on the base a little bit. Those legs for the base are actually 2 separate pieces. They're tongue and groove together, which is insane. You can see that one right there has got a little bit of different color variation between the top and the bottom, but it's 2 pieces together that are, which I thought that was insane. I thought the craftsmanship was insane, because you couldn't even tell. They look identical. You could never tell that was 2 pieces. But after all that, it was finally time to get to work on putting the backing of the seat back together. And you can see right here, I'm taking those slats, which when I got the chair, it was missing 2 or 3 slats, I do believe. I only had 4, which turned out great because it looked pretty good. I decided not to make any more. I didn't think there was any point. I thought 4 would be fine, spacing them out evenly. But I took a brad nailer and just shot 1 brad in each of them to get them to hold into place. And I'm doing the same process when I'm putting them into the seat. You can see right here, I'm just shooting a brad nail in there, tacking them in place. I'm going to go back with epoxy and just pour that in all the holes that the slats go into. Number one, I thought it'd be a good way to hold them in place. I thought it'd hold them in there pretty firmly and be a great bond. Number two, I thought epoxy was one of the best ways to fill up all those excess holes. So I just put some epoxy tape on there, spoon-fed epoxy in each of these holes. I use West System epoxy. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, the kind that I got. Great stuff. I'll put a link to that down in the bio so y'all can check it out. They make great products, great company. And then after it set up for a while, I went back and popped all the bubbles with a blowtorch. Let it set up for a few hours to get it to where it was tacky and wasn't going to run in anything like that. And as you can see right here, I flipped it upside down because there's also holes on that top piece, the very back of the chair, the very top, whatever you want to call it. I took some scrap pieces of white oak, nailed them onto the seat to balance everything out, to hold it up, and I just went back and repeated that process, taped up all my gaps, and spoon-fed epoxy into each hole that the slats go in, and that did a great job of holding that piece in there. It turned out very well. So guys, after all that epoxy pouring and everything, I had to let it cure up, of course, and that took a little bit of time. But the next thing I did is I kind of went back and cleaned up all the excess epoxy that spilled out with a Dremel and a hand rasp and just sanded. You could see all those holes where the slats goes, how smooth they look and how there's no excess epoxy anywhere. I just cleaned all that up. And right here I'm working on getting the rest of the backing attached. It was tricky to clamp this up and get it glued on. I had to go back and add more dowels, but it was just hard to clamp it up due to the angles and stuff of the chair. But I did the best I could, and it came out pretty good. You can see right here, I finally got all the clamps on and let it dry for a while and let it cure overnight. Came back the next morning, and that corner right there, I'm using a hand rasp on it. The glue did not take on it. Like I thought I clamped it up right, but I didn't. It busted off as soon as I took the clamp off. So what I'm going to do, and I decided to go back and do this to all the joints, is I'm just going to do what I did to the slats. I'm going to take my finish nailer, tack that brace on, and go back with epoxy. And I'm just going to pour epoxy in every single joint on this chair. I want this chair to be stout. I want it to be able to hold up a lot of weight. Hey, remember the end goal was just to be able to sit in it. So that's what I'm doing. But I'm going back, spoon feeding epoxy in all these joints. And right here, I'm putting a clamp on there because the chair, to my eye, after I look at something for so long, my eyes start playing tricks on me. But the chair looked a little bit crooked, so I figured if the epoxy cured, it would hold this in place. And so I put that clamp on to hold it. And pay attention to the top part of that clamp with the handle on it to tighten it. You can see it starting to slide off and actually just smoked me right in the face. I wish I could slow-mo this, but the clip was like 30 minutes long. It smoked me right in the face. I was really starting to get frustrated at this point in the project because it was just taking me so long and I'd spend so much time on it, you know. But I really wanted it to be done right and do everything I can to make this chair come back together, you know, bring it back to life. And it was just a lot of tedious work, and I was starting to lose my patience on it, you know. That happens in projects. It's a part of it. It is what it is, but I was just having a rough day, I guess, with the clamp, you know. But anyway, after all that, I finally got the arms on, and what I did the same thing I did to all the other joints. I just tacked them on in a place where I wanted them and went back and poured epoxy. And it was tricky really getting epoxy tape around all these joints to where the epoxy wouldn't leak. I actually had, like, I think one leak, and it wasn't bad or anything, but what I do is just spoon feed epoxy, leave for about an hour or two. There's just so much waiting time and letting this stuff cure and dry. I'd leave for about an hour or two, come back when it was real tacky, and pour some more in those gaps until the gap was completely full, and I'd overfill it, of course. But, yeah, it came out great. I was just beyond happy with it. I'm very, very thankful I didn't have any more leaks than I did because it was real tricky to tape those gaps up like I was saying. But I think this really came out great because I think it made the chair a lot stronger using epoxy in all the joints instead of just relying on screws and nails. But after all that, took all the tape off, the epoxy was fully cured, and I went back with my Dremel and started shaping up everything, taking the hand rasp, getting in those tight places, shaping everything up, getting all that excess epoxy off. Like I said, a lot of handwork was involved in this, trying to get everything shaped up. You can't get a sander in there. So after the hand rasp, of course, I went back by hand and sanded it. And right here you can see I'm just going to all those small spots with some Starbond CA glue, that mystical shit that I always talk about. I'll link this in the description as well to get y'all some. That company makes a great product, but filling up all the little knot holes and stuff that I wanted to fill up. Didn't do all of them. I wanted to still have a rough look. And after that, went through sanding. And guys, I sanded all the way from 40 grit to 320, water pop between every grit to make that grain pop, to get as much paint out of the grain as possible. And you can see right here I'm doing a lot of hand sanding as well, but it just came out so great. I wanted it to have a glass-like finish to it, and I was beyond happy with how it came out. Alright guys, after about 2 days of just sanding on this chair and all the pieces that go with it, trying to get everything all slicked up, and really, I mean, it just took a while to sand it. You know, there's a lot of hand sanding in between the slats on the back of the chair and everything, and under it and all the curves and the nooks and crannies, whatever you want to call it. We got all that knocked out. I went all the way up to 320 grit to get it nice and smooth. I want it feeling like glass whenever you touch it. Now it's time for the finishing process, which is the most rewarding part, because you get to see the chair come to life. And the client wanted it natural, so I sanded it down just to the original bare wood, and I'm gonna put the best finish in the universe on it once again, Atomic Finishes wood oil and wax. And my good friends over at Bidwell Wood and Iron, they're the same company, Atomic Finishes and Bidwell Wood and Iron. They're pretty much the same company. They agreed to collaborate with me and provide the finish for the project. So I'm so blessed to be able to work with them and be affiliated with them. Y'all check out their website. They make awesome products. It's not just finish. They make C-channels. They make hardware for C-channels. They make table bases. They sell wood slabs. They do all kinds of stuff. Pretty much anything and everything woodworking, they have it. It's top quality, top-notch stuff. I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it, guys. So I 100% am on their team, and I love them. They make great products. Y'all go check them out. I'm going to put a link in the description. When you click it at checkout, it should have my discount code applied. If not, I'll put my discount code in the description too, and you just type it in under the coupon section or the discount section, and you'll get a certain percentage off your order. So be sure to check them out. I'm so blessed to be a part of their team and to work with this company. They're great, and I'm super thankful for them collaborating with me on this project. So I'm going to open up this package. We're going to get out the finish and the wax, slap it on here, and we're on the home stretch, guys. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm going to tell you what, guys, hearing your voice on camera is just so trippy. Hearing the playback of me actually talking on the camera, my voice is just, it's funny sounding to me. I got that country twang, I guess, you know, southern drawl, whatever you want to call it. But this is voiceover like 297 or something or so. You know, I don't script anything out. A lot of guys script stuff out and it sounds like they're reading off a piece of paper. If you ever heard me read, it is the worst thing in the world. You can ask all my buddies throughout school. It's funny as hell to listen to. I sound like a robot, so I'm just kind of winging it as I go. But damn, I guess I wing everything I do, you know, which isn't a bad thing, you know, pick it up and run with it. But anyway, I'm beyond blessed for Atomic Finishes. They agreed to collaborate with me on this project, and I am affiliated with them, and I'll put a link in the description that you can go to their website, use my discount code, and get a percentage off of anything you order. Mostly I do believe, but you know, they're such a great company to work with, and I'm beyond blessed for the opportunity to be affiliated with them, and they make amazing products, guys. I wouldn't be with them if they didn't. You know, I really stand behind that. It's a fact. They have the best finishes in the universe, and they make so much more than finishes. Y'all check them out. But I'm beyond blessed, you know, and I can't say that enough. And it's so rewarding right here to put the finish on this chair after all the hard work I put into it, and see the color pop and just see that character come out in the chair. I mean, that chair has a hell of a story right there, guys, and it's just so rewarding to see it come to life. And well, really, it got brought back to life, you know. It really came out great, and it's about to really come together when I start putting all this hardware back on it. But it's just, I was getting so frustrated and caught up in it because I'd spent so much time working on it, and just the reward of seeing that, y'all just have no idea until you do all that work. I just didn't realize how much goes into restoring a piece of furniture. You know, this is the first piece I ever redid, and I literally tore it apart piece by piece and put it back together piece by piece, you know. So it's so cool to see it come together. It's just so rewarding to me, and this is one of the reasons why I love what I do, and I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to do it. You know, it was a really fun project, and as you can see, guys, I'm putting the hardware back on. That hardware turned out great after hitting it with the Dremel on the wire wheel and polishing it up, doing the best I can on that. And I love the color and how it goes with the the base. And guys, the base right here, it's cool to me because it's all like dovetailed. All those pieces of wood are dovetailed to that piece of metal. It's cool. It's unique. It's really cool to see, and just the craftsmanship that went in this piece originally. And man, I just love working on it. I never realized I'd love restoring furniture so much. It's just truly so rewarding, and I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to be able to do it. All right, guys, she's all done. Chair's back together. I am extremely blown away with how good it came out. I really didn't know what to expect going into it. I've never restored furniture before. Usually I just build some shit. I don't ever restore shit, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, I'm really happy with how it came out. I love the natural color of it. I still don't know what type of wood it is. I want to say it's an oak based on some of the rays and the way the grain is in it. But, man, I'm so happy with how it all cleaned up. It came out great. The hardware cleaned up, and I got it on halfway straight. I was a little worried about it being crooked and all that, but I mean, look, it's fully functional. Next thing to do, I need to sit in it and test it out. But I'm extremely happy with how this came out. I'm gonna get some more shots of it, some pictures and videos and stuff that are a lot better. But I'm super thankful for again Atomic Finishes partnering with me and collaborating and providing the finish that I used on it. It came out great. It's smooth, it's slick, it's got a nice little sheen to it. Hopefully the client likes it. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure it will. This is awesome to see where it came from at the beginning. But anyway, guys, let's go get some other shots of it, and I'll put those at the end of the video. Guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Y'all check out these before and after shots. And I actually got to see the client's dad react to it, and I got to drop it off in person. It was so rewarding to get to see him see this chair come back to life. You guys be sure to like and follow and subscribe. Thank y'all so much for watching. All love and support always.